What is up, conscious monkeys? Welcome to another episode of Catch Up with Clayton. As always, I'm your host, your beautiful, lovely host, Clayton. And today we got an interesting one for you. I pick up on my comments last week about abortion in the spiritual politics realm. I saw a slogan recently that has to do with, we must eliminate hate. And I'm going to tell you why that's wrong. I saw some wild UFO sightings, not myself, but on camera, and I'm going to link below. And then I channeled, this is a pretty crazy story. I channeled a connection to my dog accidentally, like it just happened, which was so cool. Then I go over my upcoming schedule. And yeah, I actually also got a really cool email from a recent, client. I guess I would call them a client, but I don't really like that word. It seems a little aggressive. A fellow light seeker. I guess it's client. Can someone help me out figure out a better word for client? Because I don't really like it. It's, someone who I worked with in the Akashic Records, and it was so amazing. I honestly started crying earlier from it, but anyhow, that's about me personally. Let me get back into what our schedule looks like today. Okay. So with regards to the spiritual politics, the abortion thing, I released on would have been Friday, a couple days ago. I found it funny because I actually think I got my first 1-star review on Apple and Spotify, which I'm kind of honored. And I know that might sound weird, but I'm kind of like, it's kind of like this mixture of relief, but like I'm doing something I need to do. And it's so weird because you might be sitting there thinking like, oh, I only want perfect reviews. I would only want 5-star reviews. But to me, it signals to me that I'm actually doing and saying something that people might disagree with, which I think is, in a weird way, good for the productivity or the furthering continuance of dialogue. I mean, look at how many great podcasts there are, and go check out their reviews. They have a whole handful of 1-star, 2-star, 3-star reviews. So to me, it's just another step towards stardom. It's the idea of like, if you're serving everyone, then you're serving no one. So I just wanted to say a quick shout out to the person who sent me that 1-star review. I assume it was in response to that episode, which, if it triggered you, it triggered you. I don't know what to tell you, but I think there's something really important here to say that I've just been seeing getting rolled out over these last few days. And that's the GOP or conservatives or I guess GOP is probably the best way to put it. The Republicans, where they're saying now that we need to take action and ban it everywhere. We need to make it federally illegal. And dude, it's so ridiculous. Like, to me, this is just so ridiculous. This idea that this extremism, like, it's so crazy, the extremism that is alive in our political system. And it's kind of interesting because maybe Trump kind of like started that whole like ignition. He started that whole thing because of how polarizing that he was. But this is a problem, guys. This extremism is a problem. I kind of said it in my first podcast about this, was that it should be a states' rights thing. This isn't a federal idea. And was also crazy to me, and I didn't even realize this myself, is that it was never actually a constitutional amendment. So it's not like, how does that work? So it was really interesting to me. I'm not a poli-sci major. I don't really know, but the fact that it's not a constitutional right, it's like, and everyone acts like this is a natural right. And I know that might trigger some people, so sorry, my bad. But the point is that this should be handled at the state level. And this should be handled in the sense of the way corporations are handling it, where if they disagree with it, then they're like willing to pay people who want to get an abortion to go to a different state, which, look, if that's how you want to handle it, that's how you want to handle it. I guess I could see an issue there with the idea of like privacy, because I'm sure, I can't relate myself, but I'm sure that it is a very emotional and a very private thing that you really wouldn't want to disclose to your company. So maybe that would be but I guess that's the way to fight it. I guess the other way is to move to a different state if that's like something that you're trying to have. But I know I don't like that argument. I hate that argument, honestly. I hear it all the time. Oh, if you don't like it here, move somewhere else. It's like, no, that's not how this works. That's personally my thing. But again, this comes back to the federal government and the fact that we just need to stop giving power to the federal government. I mean, look at what happened with the whole COVID situation. We basically gave our laws and rules over to the CDC for the longest period of time, where you would walk by and we're like, oh, we're following CDC guidelines. It's like, they're not the ruling body. We can't start enforcing laws based on what the CDC says. Like that, you're giving the power of domain over to now an unelected, and that's a key thing, an unelected body organization that I have no idea how they were put together. If I didn't vote for them, I mean, who are they? Like, where did they come from? And I guess that takes some research, but I don't want to dive down it. My whole point is that states' rights makes the most sense to me in this situation. Look, and again, the extremism going back to the other side. It's like, oh, they need to be banned everywhere. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? So I digress. But that kind of gets into our next point here, where I saw that there was some slogan at a convention center, which was along the lines of like, we must eliminate hate. And this is so wrong. This is the wrong way to look at it. It comes from this idea that if we were to, and maybe they don't actually mean that, but they have to if they put that as their slogan. And the way that I come from this is, you can't, it's like hate doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's like there's this idea that there's just hate out there, and it just is. And that's not the way that hate works. The best example I have is the yin yang. Hate being the dark side, love would be, in my opinion, the yin side of hate. You need both in order to understand morality, to understand the other. It's like the masculine doesn't exist without the feminine existing. The feminine doesn't exist without the masculine existing. And so to have a phrase of, we must eliminate hate, I mean, it sounds like it comes from a pretty hateful place. But my point is that you can't just eliminate something like that, like a universal. It's like, let's eliminate anxiety. It's like you don't eliminate anxiety. You understand how to cope with it. You understand the lesson that it's trying to teach you. And this is so important. This is so important, because the point is that you need to figure out how to confront your hatred. The fact that you are a human being. Look at all the terrible dictators we had throughout the 1900s, 19th century, 1900s, 20th century. And they're still alive today. They're a person. You're a person. You have the same amount of capability, the same capacity to carry out tyranny and mass murder that all of them have and have done. They just executed on that idea. And the important piece here is to learn and understand that you have that capacity. You have the same capacity to do that yourself as well. And the crazy thing is that it's just like, nah, let's just get rid of it. It'll just disappear. We'll just eliminate it. I mean, a better slogan is, we must integrate hate. We must learn how to integrate hate into our world and understand that it is a real thing. Evil is a real thing. And we need to understand how to transmute it, to conquer it, to integrate it. And it's not even conquering. It's being able to understand that it's a thing that enables us to understand love. It's kind of like, how do you have rich without having poor? And this is kind of an issue that I guess, would it be the Lenin Marxists? Whoever tries to like flatten out the distribution, it's like, we're all equal. It's like, are we? Like, I mean, I'm kind of getting into a rabbit hole. I think that I'm probably not the best qualified to give. So I might just cut myself off there and get into something that I am qualified, which is UFOs. I'm going to tag a link below, because I saw an Instagram reel of just like 10 people who were taking videos of UFOs in San Diego, California, which I used to live there for 4 years, for whoever didn't know. So I thought this was so cool. Like, so many people saw it. Like, it apparently showed up as 2 lights, and then 4 lights, and then a couple more lights, and they were just hovering. It was so sick. Like, I can only imagine there was some sort of CE5 group that was like shooting these off. And for whoever don't know, CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, there's a whole like metric with like Close Encounters of the First Kind, Second Kind, Third Kind, Fourth Kind, Fifth Kind. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind is actually whenever you, a person, are channeling outwards and contacting them and saying, hey, come visit me, let's hang out. And then they come into the sky and basically find you, which I highly recommend you go look up YouTube videos, because there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to convince you if you don't know about this already. but just know that that's a thing. Like that's a thing. And that's interesting because it translates us into our next translates. It transitions. I can't talk to gay guy. Jeez, I cannot talk today. I hope everyone's all right with that. Let me take a quick breath. All right. That transitions us into a channeled connection that I had with my dog. Now, this is so cool. So let me explain to you the situation. So like I'm sitting on a chair, my dog's behind me, and then my mom was sitting on the couch kind of behind her. So we're kind of like in a line, right? We're all like lined up. So like it would form a straight line if you connected us in a dot. And I'm facing forward and they're both behind me. And so my dog always just barks for food. She's crazy about it. She's a puggle. She just barks for food like anytime she can. And so the dog comes in and she goes in between us and she starts barking at my mom. And my mom starts to stand up, and intuitively I'm like, no, I think she just wants to lay with you. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, just like lay down and like put your feet out. Just like straighten your legs. She wants to cuddle. The moment I said that, my dog turns around and looks at me and basically like gives me a smile, turns back around to my mom, who at this point straightened her legs. Our dog jumps up and then just lays on her lap. I was like, that is crazy. To me, I was just like, that is the coolest thing in the entire world. I was like, damn, I just channeled a connection with my dog. Like accidentally too. It was just, I didn't even like have to sit there and get into it. I was just like, it was an intuitive like, hey, which is interesting. So if you have pets or you have a dog, I highly recommend you take this advice that they're not barking to annoy you, which I think a lot of people come from. At least that's what I did. And if you're an advanced dog owner, you probably already know that that's not the case. But they're actually trying to communicate with you, which might sound crazy, but they like specifically have like a need or a want. And it's kind of like a baby whenever it cries. It has a specific need or want that it's trying to elicit your reaction from, if that makes sense. Just not to elicit a reaction, but it just wants something, you know? Yeah, so that's all I really got for you today. I do want to tell you guys about my upcoming schedule because it will be interesting. I am going to Costa Rica and Peru. So the next time that you get an upload, what are these things called? I'll think of the name of these. A catch up with Clayton. I'll actually be coming to you from Costa Rica. So that's super cool. Wow, that's actually I just got chills saying that. That's pretty wild. So I do have, I think, 1 or 2 podcasts lined up to drop on like the episode podcasts. So I'll still be posting every Monday and Thursday. Just the Monday episodes might slow up. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I might actually use my channeling and, answer some questions for people. So maybe that's something you can do. Shoot me a message or an email. Shoot me an email at support@travelingtoconsciousness.com, or I should honestly just set up like a little web portal where you guys can shoot me a message. Or on Instagram, at Clayton Cuteri, at Traveling to Consciousness. Shoot me a DM and let me know what questions you would have that if I were to tap into the records, what should I ask them? That would actually be super cool. And this is like a bonus. So if you actually go through the struggle of DMing me on Instagram, shooting me an email at support@travelingtoconsciousness.com, you can get a free channeled question. I am going to be channeling these for the audience as a whole. So whenever I open up the channel, it will be in regards to the Conscious Monkey Society, to the Conscious Monkeys, and it will really just be for whoever listens to those episodes. So if you feel called to it, there's a reason you'll be feeling called to those episodes. So I highly recommend it. That probably won't air for another 3 weeks, 4 weeks ish in that time frame. Just as a heads up. Let's see here. Do I have anything else here? No, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys all had an amazing week. I know mine it gets out of control every single time, and it's so cool. It's weird because I hit like Mondays or Sundays. I'm like, what am I going to talk about on Wednesday? And then in 2 days, like everything just gets wild and just explodes. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I asked, you guys delivered. And so it's like, it's always funny how that happens. I can tell you what, I know that we're going to have some jam-packed catch up with Clayton's coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. I will be traveling and you guys will still be amazing. And with all that being said, we will catch up in the 6th dimension.